Hello from Toronto, everyone. A couple of months ago, there was a significant political and economic shift in Europe as the UK had a referendum to decide whether or not they should leave or remain in the European Union. To those unfamiliar with the European Union, or EU, it's a political alliance between member states within Europe that allows member states to benefit when it comes to many things. Healthcare, housing benefits, unemployment benefits, immigration, trade, the list goes on. Now, the official vote took place on June 23rd, and the result was that nearly 52% of the vote opted to leave the European Union. Now, why did the vote lean so far in favor of leaving? There may have been some frustration over breaking local economies, but one thing that strongly contributed to the outcome of the vote was the generational divide in opinion. 73% of 18 to 24-year-olds voted Remain. 62% of 25 to 34-year-olds voted Remain, and 52% of 35 to 44-year-olds voted Remain. Now, here is where the divide begins to show itself. Only 44% of 45 to 54-year-olds voted to remain. Only 43% of 55 to 64-year-olds voted to remain. And only 40% of 65-year-olds and older voted to remain. In other words, the generation from roughly the age of 18 to 44 was in favor of staying in the European Union, but the general voting population of the age 45 and up were certainly not. Now, some of the side effects of the decision could be as follows. Immigration may now be completely controlled domestically. There could be a barrier in trade between the United Kingdom and the European Union, and this in turn could cost jobs and incomes. However, with such an overwhelming majority of young individuals wanting to remain in the European Union, this vote speaks volumes to the importance of civic engagement in the political process. According to the BBC, there is evidence that in areas with lots of younger voters, there was a much lower turnout for the actual vote. Millennial turnout for the actual voting process will probably play a critical role in many upcoming elections, including the very up-and-coming American election in November. The fact that young people aren't conditioned to vote has clearly already had effect on the political developments in recent history. Inaction is sometimes just as powerful and consequential as action. And the only way to have individual views represented and acknowledged is by participating in the actual political process. So it's important to stress that participation in the voting process and civic engagement are both extremely important. It's how local and national laws are passed, and it determines who eventually ends up in power. And if your voice isn't heard through your vote, your candidate cannot represent you. Well guys, that's it for this video. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next Tuesday.